Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and bestie and all-around wonderful guy and co-host. Forgot that. And senior educator at the Bhakti Center, Kaustubha Das. Did I already say all of those? Welcome to the show. So we have a special edition of our show today. It's called Question Day because we've been getting stockpiles of questions and I'm not answering any of them. So it's starting to blow up our inbox here at Wisdom of the Sages. And you too can have your question answered on Question Day if you write to wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, and you can carefully write in your question, and we will carefully look through them and choose if we will answer it or not. Just kidding. So anyway, before we even dive into this whole thing, there are some very, very new people on the show. That's what I've realized from questions. That at the same time, if you're sort of a seasoned practitioner of Bhakti, it's good to hear questions from different angles. I especially love hearing Kaustubha's take on like very simple questions and how he answers them. And then I can give my humble answer.
No, I love your answers too, Raghu.
Oh, thank you,
I
Prabhu.
value them. I appreciate them.
And also a backstory about the show is we call each other by this magical word you'll hear a lot. So if it's confusing, Prabhu, you'll hear me say Kaustubha Prabhu. Sean Murphy, vegan trucker Prabhu. Mara Prabhu. Tom Essig Prabhu. You'll hear me say that. Prabhu is just a nice way to address each other. It means master. It's actually generally, I think it's a masculine way to say it. I think for women, they say Prabvi, but we just say Prabhu. We've sort of repurposed the word. We call it all the same. We just make it one gender. And I'm okay with that. I think it makes it easy. I consider everybody my master. And I just think it's a nice way to address people. So good morning, Prabhu.
Good morning, Prabhu.
Another thing is you'll hear this word Krishna a lot. Krishna is one way to say God. It's that simple. If you feel like, well, I have another way to say God, that's okay. There's many ways to say the same thing, the same being. In India, there's many, many ways. You could say Ram, you could say Vishnu, you could say Krishna. But we shouldn't think it'd be much different than when we say God, Allah, Jehovah. We're talking about the same being, just from a different vantage point or basically from a different culture. It's a very, very wide gate in Vedic culture. And it's a understanding that everybody's on a spiritual path, and different cultures, of course, will give the higher power a different name. Is God personal or is God impersonal? This is an age-old question that the Bhagavatam addresses. We study this one book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the answer is God is both. God is both personal and impersonal. God is light, God is formless, and then also God is form. In the same way, the sun is impersonal, meaning the sun has, there's light. There's the sun is in the room. But then there's the sun globe, which is separate than the sun rays. And they both exist with each other. And they're both correct, right? But they're both different. They're both nuanced as well. So the Bhagavatam talks about the personal form of divinity. And mainly, because in Bhakti, it's more of a personal relationship. And it talks about Krishna, mainly, the fountainhead of all avatars, and all the different avatars of Vishnu, too. So it gets into these very fantastic stories, which are deeply laden with spiritual truths. Kaustubha, you want to share anything else about that?
No, I think you did
Oh
well.
my
I mean,
God. Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
It seemed to be.
Can you get
I don't know what the theme is today, so but I appreciate everything you said so far.
Carla, the consultant. Carla's our business consultant here at Wisdom of the Sages, which, she's the only one I allowed to correct me because my ego is so massive that if somebody corrects me, I start crying. But Carla, because she's like a professional consultant, I allow her to come in and start rearranging my head. Raghu, you did it all wrong. Raghu, why'd you say that? Raghu, you speak too fast. Raghu, stop snorting and coughing. So Carla came live today. So if you're new to the podcast, we have the people that, just listen, but we never know where they are. We call them the others. Then we have our Zoom group. We have about 61 on Zoom today. They're live. And then we have these guys over here, the Peanut Gallery, Tom, Mara, and Carla. And Carla's never here on Live, but she showed up today, but she couldn't find how to get here. So I'm walking outside in the middle of the night, and she's wandering around my house with a flashlight like a prowler, banging on the window. It's waking up all my kids. Welcome, Carla. Thank you. And now you're unprofessional. Yeah, that was unprofessional, Carla, to come late. Now I'm correcting you. Okay. We have a bunch of wonderful questions here today. Sorry, Kaustubha, I interrupted you because of Carla.
No, I didn't really have anything to say, so
okay.
I'm ready to dive in.
Let's do our morning prayers.
Okay. I mean, of course, we're not reading Bhagavatam, but we may as well anyway, right?
Well, it's all about the Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya.
Up. Skipped one. Raghunath.
Just when I corrected Carla, I get corrected. That's what happened. That's my karma. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of our conquest, one should offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana-tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All right. Should we read some of these questions? Mara really expertly put these on a PDF for us. I really appreciate that.
I gathered, there's some questions are coming in from so many angles. They're on the YouTube. They're on...
I can't even keep up with the YouTube because every episode's got their own list of questions.
There are two that I tried to find. I found one of them, so maybe we could take one of those questions too.
Okay, why don't you start, Prabhu?
You want to start with that one?
Yeah.
All right, let me find it again. There's one that I was looking for. I'm going to go back and see if I can find it.
You got to go through like every episode.
Well, if you go in the back of YouTube, it just kind of lists all the questions.
Did everybody see my daughter's comment? That was so sweet. My daughter's comment on Apple Podcast.
Oh, that was from your daughter. Okay, now I get it.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
When you sent it to me,
You didn't get it.
Best dad ever, right?
He said the best. She's like, it's a great show. I try to watch it every day, and he's the best dad ever.
That's nice. Okay, so this is from Lance Johnson from a couple days ago.
Should we say their names or keep it anonymous?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, well, his name is there on YouTube, so.
I've got a consultant here I can ask. Carla, should we say their name?
It's public. Why not?
It's public. Okay. What does that mean? It's public.
Well, in other words, in YouTube, he put his name there publicly, maybe writing in
public.
that we don't necessarily have to include it.
Okay, great.
Okay. So Lance says, great podcast. Question. While I get that one should realize that the material world isn't the answer, and that we can die at any moment and should therefore put ourselves in the hands of God, shouldn't we also be able to go out to dinner with our family and just enjoy the moment? This isn't Gnosticism, where the material world is evil, right? Can't we enjoy the meal and think, this is the play of existence? It ain't the end all be all, but it can be sweet too, right?
It's miserable. Come on, Lance. What are you talking about? Who is this guy? I'm sorry. Go on, brother.
That's it. That's the question.
Good question, Lance.
That's a very good question.
Good question, Lance. Go. You got this.
You want to start?
No, you get it. You feel
okay.
this
Well,
one. I feel my next one.
I'm not so familiar with Gnosticism, but I'm just going by his definition of it, that it identifies the material world as being evil. And so, the gist of the question is, I can get that that there's more than life than this material world, and that this material world has its problems, but is it wrong that we can be at all happy in the material world? So Lance, yes, we can be happy in this world and we can enjoy things of this world, but it's like so many other subjects, it's a bit nuanced. There are different forms of yoga, and what makes what unites the different, like for instance, commonly, and you can find this division even in the Bhagavad-gita, or at least alluded to, if not absolutely identified in this way. But like there are four paths of yoga that are laid out. One is called Ashtanga yoga, one is called jnana yoga, one is called karma yoga, and one is called Bhakti-yoga. And in some of these yogas, like say in Ashtanga yoga or jnana yoga, they involve, particularly in jnana yoga, it involves a very cold analysis of the material world, of the world that we live in. It sees the world that we live in as a type of illusion that binds us. And so those pleasurable things that we might want to enjoy, going out to dinner. You mentioned going out to dinner, so that's like the food. That's a big one, right? Right from the beginning, food is like our first enjoyment in life. And or family, the loving relationships within the family. Jnana yoga is going to come forward with a very cold, the trend within jnana yoga would be to analyze this, break it down, and then strip it of all of its charm, so that you can free yourself from the attachment. So say you have, say the experience that a parent has when their little child is taking their first steps and is kind of awkwardly kind of walking towards them, and
how would a Jnana yogi view that one?
Well, they would, so the Jnana, speaking their first words, daddy or whatever, like
the most adorable thing you could ever imagine. What would a Jnana yogi say?
So the Jnana yogi is going to say, this experience that you're experiencing right now, you've experienced it in countless lifetimes. You experienced it now as a human. You've experienced it as a dog. You've experienced it as a raccoon. You've experienced it in so many different forms, again and again and again. And each time you thought that this is my child, although it was only for a just for a spot in time. And then the two of you were separated again, you were, and you felt at that time that this is the source of happiness. I derive happiness through my connection with this child. It is my child. This is all illusion. It's only for a moment that the two of you have been brought together. You'll be separated, and the pain will set in at that point.
What a killjoy!
Yeah. So the Jnana yogic analysis is meant to kill that sentimentality, so that you can break all the attachments in your mind. In Ashtanga yoga, the idea is to settle the mind, to still the mind. In Jnana yoga, the idea is to break all the attachments in the mind. And it's gonna look at this world with a stark, cold analysis for the purpose of breaking your attachment to it. Now, Bhakti yoga has a different way of looking at it. But in Bhakti yoga, you'll find similar kind of instructions. Even throughout the Bhagavatam, we're going to find a lot of that. But there's a synthesis in Bhakti Yoga, wherein one can move through this world recognizing that this isn't my home, recognizing that my child is not where my happiness comes from, that true happiness derives from my connection to God. But I can see my child in relation to God. When I can, my relationship with my child can be within the context of my connection to God. And then the things of this world don't need to be renounced because they're confusing me or bewildering me. But when I see them all in connection to God, then my consciousness is always moving in the right direction. You want to pick up there, Raghu? Or
I actually love where you're going. I think in Bhakti, it's like all about enjoyment. If you actually think about it,
Right.
it's just like a higher level of enjoyment. I mean, I use the example of a party, like when, like right now I'm here with 3 crazies, Maritam and Carla. These guys are a party wherever they go. But you know, or when we have at the Eco Village, in the evening time, we get together, we sing, you know, we eat incredible food, and we tell funny stories, and we laugh, and sometimes we get up and dance. That's a party. That's what a party is. What do? You eat, you dance, you sing songs, you joke with your friends. That's what a party is. Now, what is the food that we eat? It's sanctified food we offer with love. What is the dance? Is it like me trying to sort of like seduce people? No, it's just like a dance.
Hold on, let's see that again. That was your seductive dance?
You don't want to see it. It's not going to seduce you. It's going to make you run for your life. Watch out, Raghunath's dancing. Right? So it's sort of the dance is like a dance of like just joy from the heart, and the conversation is of a higher caliber, right? So that's a party. Now I'm sure a lot of us can remember parties that didn't turn out so well. You know, a high school party where you're intoxicated or waking up on someone's lawn and you don't realize how you get there. Your friends throw you out of the car or whatever it is. There's parties where people are like doing all types of crazy things. The cops bust in. Forgive me, Aditi, Aravind, and anyone who's not experienced that in their culture, but this is how we party in America. That's what we grew up.
It's not a real party until the cops show up and bust it up.
So it's not like we don't party. It's of like a higher caliber. And so in Bhakti, I think it's very enjoyable. Matter of fact, it's our birthright to enjoy life, but it's enjoyed in a very clean, refined way that's of a much higher caliber.
You know, what you're saying reminds me of one time a friend of ours, a type of mentor of ours, Jayadvaita Swami. You know? Yeah. Jayadvaita Swami is just known as, he's actually, you know, he's a Bhakti-yogi, but he's got that strong Jnanic kind of analysis, right? But at the same time, he's got the heart of a Bhakti-yogi.
Yeah, he's very renounced too. He became like a monk in his early, he's still a monk. He's an old man now, like 70 or something. But he looks like a young boy, and he became a monk at a very young age, like at 22 or something like that, or maybe younger.
I think probably younger than that. I'm almost certain he was in his teens. Okay. But amazing person, you know, a great soul. And one day, he was, outside our temple in Brooklyn, the Radha Govinda temple in Brooklyn, and a police car drove up to him, and a cop leaned out the window and said, "Hey, what do you got to give up to become one of you Hare Krishnas? You know, what do you have to give up?" And so, I'd imagine he was just assuming it would be, sex or whatever, like that. He's looking at this monk, so what do you got to give up? And he just said, suffering.
You got to. Well, the idea is that material pleasure has a beginning and an end. Yeah. So we want deeper, more refined, subtle pleasure. Yeah. But I think it's a good answer.
Going back to that Jnanic analysis, and the word Jnana means knowledge. And so it means knowledge where you can clearly differentiate different categories of existence. What is the soul, myself? What is God? What is this material world? And so jnana has a lot to do with looking at the material world. I think Geneva has her microphone on. We'll ask her.
Geneva. What the heck?
There we go.
Listen.
Thank you.
Oh.
So that jnanic point of view, it analyzes this material. It has a lot to do with separating what is real and what is illusion, and looking at the material world and seeing the illusion in it. And that's a big topic. You know, how is this world illusory? But the Jnana yogi will see this world in a sense like a virtual reality. And you could imagine if you were trapped in a virtual reality, and you believed it was real. So you're moving through this virtual reality and you're enjoying foods, and you have a family there too. And you have other types of comforts and so on. But then someone comes into that virtual reality and explains to you with clear analysis that this world that you're in is not real, that there's another world that exists outside this that you're really meant to be in. And you're indulging in the things of this computerized world as if it were real, and you're stuck, just like in the film The Matrix. Now, if they explain to you that the only way that you get out of this virtual reality,
Whoever wrote The Matrix must have read the Bhagavad-gita.
I'm sorry?
Whoever wrote The Matrix must have read the Bhagavad-gita,
I would assume.
right?
Yeah. But if that person explained to you that the only way that you get out of this virtual reality is when you are completely free from any desire for things of the virtual world, when you, with complete clarity, see that this is not real, and you completely detach yourself from any of the experiences of this world, then you will be freed from the virtual reality. Okay, so now I know my way out. But this is the issue. What if the more that I engage with the things of that virtual world, the more that I engage with the experience seems very real. So when I enjoy foods in the virtual world, even when I enjoy the relationships with my family in the virtual world, the experience is pleasurable. The mind becomes conditioned to try to experience that pleasurable experience again. And the problem is that the more that you do that, the more that you forget that it's illusion, and the more that your mind becomes programmed to think that this world is real. You forget the truth, right? So if by engaging with the virtual world, I begin to lose my connection with truth, but I want the truth and freedom, then what's the natural response? It would be to disengage from the things of this world, right? Disengage from the things of the virtual world so that I can become free. And in a sense, that's how the Jnana yogi looks at exactly what Lance is describing here. Can't I enjoy the meal? Can I enjoy the time with my family? What's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that if you begin to think that this is the ultimate reality, that this is, you can become easily lost in that. Whereas in Bhakti Yoga, it says, we recognize that the bodies of my family are virtual. We recognize that the sensation of eating nice foods is virtual. But rather than turn our back on them, we know that what we're ultimately meant to do is reconnect with God. So if I take my virtual foods and I offer them to God, then when I eat them, I remember God. And instead of my mind going the opposite direction, it's going towards God. When I see my family members in connection to God, and I see my relationship with them centered around God, and when I feel like we're not trying to exactly enjoy each other, what we're trying to do is all move towards God together, then I can engage in this world, enjoy in this world, but always be moving towards the spiritual consciousness. So Bhakti Yoga is going to look at it different than some yogas are going to say, no, don't eat good food. Go off to the forest and just scourge off whatever roots you can find. You know, family, leave them behind. Go off to live in a cave and don't get caught up in that illusion. Whereas in Bhakti Yoga, it can synthesize the two. And I hope that is helpful, Lance.
You are beautiful. You are beautiful.
No, you too, Raghu.
Okay, I'm going to read one.
Okay. You going to start?
No.
What are you waiting for?
I lost my question.
Okay.
Okay.
I've got them pulled up if you've lost them.
Okay. All right. Why don't you just pick one? I'll pick one.
Well, let's just start with the top. Let's start with the top.
I know. Why did I start at the top of things? Why do I have to look around? Why? This is like a character defect of mine. I got to look around find some. All right. Just ask the question. And I'll answer it. Pretend.
Okay. Here's the question. But maybe we'll just say the first names. This is from John. Okay. I've been struggling with the idea of love and was hoping to get a perspective on some thoughts. Bhakti means love, but love is always talked about as if there are different forms, but I don't see it that way. Love is love to me, not family love, romantic love, friendship love. The only differences are the relationships that dictate the expression and the strength. But is the love different? Can you love someone or something with no relationship? Can you have a relationship with no love? Everywhere I turn, there's this idea of different love, but is there different hate? So far, I've come to the idea that when you're allowed to be completely your true self with no added conflict, comparison, or judgment, then it is an environment to allow your love to shine, and the ones who allow it are loved ones. Do these teachings have anything to say about these ideas? I want to know what love is, Raghu. I want you to show me.
Know what love is. Well, I don't know if this is going to be a great answer, but I think that love is nuanced. I love my son and I love my wife. Those are two different forms of love, but they're different types of love. I love my mom and I love my wife. Completely different types of love, but they're both love. But they're sort of nuanced. I think in a lot of spiritual practices, we say a love of God, a love of, and I think the love of God is also different than the love of a relationship with a person. It's all love in one sense. Just like I went to this, they have this store in New York, the peanut butter store. Ever go to that store? It's many, many different types of peanut butters. What? It is. It was like all different types of peanut butters. Each one is slightly different. But maybe that's not a great analogy because it's still peanut butter ultimately. But there's
varieties of peanut butter.
There's varieties. Spicy peanut butters, perhaps. Cinnamony peanut butters.
Smooth,
but anyway,
chunky.
Yeah. And even our concept of loving divinity, that's the interesting thing about Vedic teachings is, okay, you say you love God. How do you perceive God? That's very interesting because in most cultures, Judeo-Christian culture, God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. That means all powerful, all knowing, right? So that is a very regal conception of divinity. In Krishna Bhakti, it's we accept God as all those things, but they also is God is just like a little child. Like that's a different type of love. God is adorable. God is charming. You'll never hear that in a Catholic mass. God is charming, but it's just a different vantage point of the same higher power. So God is also nuanced, and love is love. And I don't think I am different in one sense from my mom who goes to a Catholic church. I can still go to a Catholic church and appreciate her worship of God. But the way I perceive God is as a small child, a small, charming little child. So that is, so it is all love and it's all sort of different as well. And I think if my son, my 6-year-old, comes in here, he'll start like, he's just like a little aggressive, crazy kid. He'll start punching me and he'll jump on my shoulders and he'll, walk me around the room, like and pull my ears and try to drive me like a horse. If Mara did that, it'd be sort of awkward. Now, I think I love Mara and I love my son, but it's a different type of love. Do not try that, Mara. I know you've been thinking about punching me and jumping on my shoulders, but so I don't know if that answered the question well, but what do you think?
Well, there's going to be that which, it's a nuanced topic. I think I understand. I think I understand the question. There's something that makes love love, and then there's something that can distinguish varieties of love. There's a really fascinating, for me, really beautiful passage in the book, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it speaks about prema, or love, and it begins to define it in different ways and explore it. And I pulled something up. You ready, Raghu?
Yeah. You
Okay.
did some research.
I did a little research here
For you.
And so this is talking about love, and it's going to define the abode of love as well as the object of love.
It's just going to be very esoteric.
Well, it's an esoteric question. You know, there's that aspect of bhakti yoga that's like practical, like, you know, I'm eternal, I'm not this body, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the esoteric, you know, even like the practical is, by nature, I'm designed to love. But then it gets esoteric when you describe, okay, well, what does that look like? And what does love of God look like? And what does God's love look like? And so on. And then it goes into all these different esoteric varieties. So this is a passage in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, a book that's a biography of Sri Chaitanya, but it's also a book that lays out a lot of theology and philosophy of what's called Gaudiya Vaishnavism, or the lineage that Raghunath and I practice. So it says, it's going to speak about the abode of love, which means the person that's holding the feeling of love, and then the object of love, the person that you love, right? So the abode means, in other words, I'm holding love in my heart. When I'm holding love for someone else, and I'm the abode of love. And then the object of love, who I feel that love for. So it says, the happiness of the abode of love is in the happiness of the object of that love. This is not a relationship of desire for personal gratification. So, in other words, if I'm the abode of love, my happiness lies in the happiness of the, like say, I love you, Raghunath.
Thank you.
And so then when you're happy, my happiness lies in your happiness. When I see that you're happy, I naturally feel happiness because I'm connected to you through love. You see that?
And jump on my shoulders if you really love me.
Okay. And then it goes on to say, whenever there is unselfish love, that is its style. The reservoir of love derives pleasure when the lovable object is pleased. So this is an interesting definition of love. Do you really love someone? You really love someone if your happiness is connected to their happiness. And often the example is given of a mother and a child, right? That when the mother, you know, is caring for that child, if the child is sick, suffering in some way, then the mother is not going to be peaceful until that child is restored to its happy situation. And then when the child is happy, even if the mother is completely wiped out and tired or exhausted, she feels happy seeing the child happy. And so we could call that love. Now that aspect of love would be present in all different varieties, whether I love you as a friend, whether I love you with the parental type of love, whether I love you in a romantic way. That common element is there. But in those different varieties of love, there's all different varieties of experience. It's a very different experience, the love of friendship, than the romantic love. And those two are very different from the feeling, the variety of love that's experienced as a parent to a child. Now, there's a statement in the Upanishads, the word rasa, it means like juice or taste or flavor. And when you get to the esoteric side of bhakti, it begins to discuss the varieties of rasa, the varieties of flavors of different love. And there's a statement in the Upanishads, what is it, raso vai saha, or that is saying that God is full of rasa, God is full of flavors, you know, or God is relishing different flavors, I suppose. And so when we hear about Krishna, there's a whole science to analyzing how God relishes varieties of love. That is his business. And he likes to enjoy it in all the different varieties. There's something that he derives from the love of friendship. It's said that in friendship, you feel like you're equal, right?
Mm.
Like there's no real friendship if I feel I'm greater than you or you're greater than me. We're kind of like, there's a certain equality. But in the parental love, the parent actually feels superior to the child, like you're dependent on me. And the nature of that situation changes the variety of love. I need to care for you. You know, I need to care. You're dependent on me. There's a sweetness, something special about that. It's something that parents, you know, as a child grows up and becomes independent, the parents are like, where did that feeling go? Where did that rasa go?
Right.
You know, even I mention this sometimes, but you know, like when you and I were kids, there was only one kind of baby shoe out there. Remember?
Yep.
Like nowadays, there's all these varieties of sneakers and
Nikes.
you can get some Nikes. You can get
little Timberlands.
little Tims,
Little baby Timberlands.
You could get all variety. But when we were kids, it was just like this.
There was just one white shoe.
White leather thing, right? Like these little boots.
Little high tops.
Yeah. And then like, and especially like, at least I know like in Catholic families, the parents would sometimes bronze those little baby shoes.
That's a Catholic thing?
I don't know if everybody does it. I know Catholics did it. Maybe it wasn't just a Catholic thing.
Yeah, maybe it was. You and me did it.
Yeah.
Bronze baby. Ragu's bronze baby shoes. Maybe it's an American thing. I wonder if they do that in Sweden and Switzerland.
Well, Jeff's saying that the Jews did it too.
Jews did it too? Okay, good.
Yeah. And Marlena's got some baby shoes too. So the reason I bring this up is because why do you bronze those shoes? It's so that even like many decades after that child has grown up and is independent, you know, when the parent, when the mother looks at those bronze shoes, it becomes, and this is analyzed as well in the books of Bhakti, it becomes what they call udipana. It becomes a stimulus for the rasa, for the feeling of that parental love when my child was totally dependent on me. I can look at those shoes and then that rasa will rise up in me, right? I remember when he was so little and he needed me to care for him in every single way. So we relish that rasa and those shoes become the stimulus. So it's fascinating because like the book, The Nectar Devotion, and there's other books, they analyze, there's a tradition of drama in Sanskrit that goes back, you know, many, many centuries. There's great writers. I believe Abhinavagupta was one of the important writers on this, and there are others. And they analyze all the different varieties of relationship and varieties of love and the subtle nuances that are in them. And through their analysis, it's meant to aid dramatists, like playwrights, to combine these rasas in certain ways that the audience will feel them in very profound ways. And
like a movie.
Like a script writer, they have to draw out emotion in the audience. And so what Rupa Goswami did, a great saint and very important teacher in the tradition of Bhakti Yoga, if I understand correctly, what he did was, in a similar way, he analyzed Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's Leela in the Bhagavatam, so that you could actually see what's happening. It's actually very, in a sense, it's sophisticated and scientific, the way that it looks at them. So where a lot of people will read the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam and see it as, oh, this is like Hindu mythology, you know, or even just like it sounds like children's stories. You know, Krishna is fighting the big snake and everybody's on the bank of the river and they're you know, it sounds, you know, the demons being killed or something like that.
Like a cartoon.
Yeah, but what Rupa Goswami will do is he'll analyze these kind of leelas, they're called, the play of God, but showing that the point to it all is this rasa, stimulating, intensifying the varieties of emotion. So when, like for instance, there's one pastime where Krishna's in the river fighting this multi-headed snake called Kaliya, and he becomes trapped in that snake. It's like it's so terrifying that he's wrapped up in its coils, and it looks like, my God, he's just a boy and now he's going to die. And the children on the bank of the river, they're running to grab the parents, to tell everybody, bring them there, try to help. And then they're all watching on the bank of the river. Krishna's mother's trying to run into the water, and she's being held back. And Krishna's friends are sitting there, and they're terrified, and all the girls are watching Krishna. And then Krishna somehow slips out from the coils of Kaliya. And then he somehow gets up on top of the snake. And then he's fighting the snake, but he's doing it in such a beautiful, artistic way that he's dancing on the heads of the snake. And each time he puts his foot down, the head goes down, like that, like in Indian classical dance, where they kind of stomp on the ground like that, He's stomping on the heads of the snake. And what's happening is that, you see, like, why is this? What's the purpose or the meaning to the story? A dramatist like Rupa Goswami, he's able to draw out all the essence of it. And he's able to show that what's going on here is that Krishna's friends, they have a particular variety of love for him. And watching this, it's stimulating that love and intensifying that love. So, but when Krishna's friends see that, what do they think, Raghu?
When Krishna's friends, they think, oh, my hero.
Or like, not exactly, or more like, that's our boy, right? Like,
yes, that's our boy. That's what I meant to say.
Like,
that's my boy.
That's our boy. Like, he's the best. And when Krishna's parents see it, they're just full of wonder. How can our child?
How can that happen? How can that happen?
Yeah,
he's just a child.
Yeah, he's just. And when the girls see it,
oh my God,
that's my hero. It's just like, what can he do? He's gorgeous and he's clever and he's brilliant and he's beautiful. And now look what he's doing. He's just blowing my mind even more. It's like they're feeling it in a romantic sense. Krishna's friends are feeling it in a fraternal sense. Krishna's parents are feeling love in a parental way. And by this all playing out, God is enjoying the rasa. He's enjoying the feelings of love back and forth. And that's really the whole point to all existence, is it's all built around love. We wanted to kind of be the center of that equation, and we're moving around this material world trying to establish ourselves as the center of the rasa. But it never quite
It's not working out for me.
So anyway, this answer's become kind of long-winded. But going back to the original question, there's a commonality in love, that true love is selfless. It's when my happiness is derived from your happiness. But there's varieties within that love. And God, and it's said that the form of Krishna, why it's so special, he's called, what is it? Akila Rasamrita Murti, right? That Murti means form, and Akila Rasamrita means that this form of Krishna as a boy, is capable of Akila Rasamrita. It can accommodate all the different varieties of rasa. You can love this form as a friend, as a master, as a parent, as a lover, where you can't with, the form of Vishnu, where all of it is reverential love. You don't love Vishnu like your buddy, but you can love Krishna like your buddy. You don't love Vishnu as if you're the parent, but you can love Krishna with parental love. You can love Krishna with romantic love. You could. This form facilitates all varieties of love. Akila Rasamrita Murti.
Check this question out.
All right.
We'll wrap that because we've only answered 2 questions so far.
And we're almost done.
No, show's almost over. I like this question. Buddhism seems so close to the teachings of the Bhagavad-gita. Do you think Buddha? Wait a second. Do you think Buddha heard the teachings of the Gita before he started preaching? I think yes.
I think almost
I'm completely speculating.
Well, almost everybody in India did.
Yeah, everybody
historically.
Yeah, everybody knew the teachings of the Gita, but I think just.
Quite frankly, the teachings of Buddhism are derived from the Vedic teachings.
Yeah, just like the book, the Dhammappada, the main teachings of the Buddhists, it comes from the at the feet of Dharma.
And all the conceptions, karma and samsara, etc., they're derived from the Vedic teachings. but they reject the Vedic literatures and the conclusion of the Vedic literatures.
Yeah.
There's wide varieties of Buddhist teachings, and I'm not so familiar with them, but just historically, Buddha existed something like 2,500 years ago. The teachings of the Gita predate that. Pretty much everyone in India was familiar with the Bhagavad-gita.
Accepted the Gita.
Buddha did, and so much of the teachings of Buddhism are clearly derived from the Vedic texts.
And people go around time to time. Things need to be sort of like refreshed, and I guess people were going off track, and Buddha came and sort of like helped people get on track. And then more masters came after Buddha to sort of like refine it even more.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can sneak some other ones in. I'm enjoying the podcast. This is from Adam Lee. Of course, I jumped around. I'm enjoying the podcast, but I have more questions. They said that the acceptance of karma and movement towards nature and pure love leads to freedom and betterment in this life. If reality
this is
free,
like a 10-part question that you just chose.
This is a 10-part question. All right, let me read that one by the Italian guy.
Well, I'm telling you not to, but I don't think we have time for the.
Okay, that was a 10-part question. What was the Italian? Oh, let me read this one. I like this one. I like this. I like Italians too. Okay, many spiritual types would like to either find or attract their soulmate. That is, the person God wants them to marry. Have you ever come across any related advice in ancient manuscripts? Also, when I chanted the Lakshmi mantra, my mother called me offering to loan me money. What have your experiences been regarding money mantras?
Haven't worked for me.
I use them all the time. I'm loaded. I think they work. I think money mantras work. I think there is a power in like all of that stuff, like The Secret, the power of intention, the money mantras. But the question is, and I think there's places for that in all the Vedic teachings as well. But in Bhakti Yoga, it's not our emphasis because we realize that money won't ultimately fulfill us. So we may think, no, you don't understand. I need money. But we accept that there's actually a higher plan. There's a higher plan for us. Oftentimes I'm arguing with the divine plan because I think I have a better agenda or a better idea of how I'm going to evolve. And it will require lots of money. So anyway, and the same with the soulmate. Sometimes we feel like, where is my soulmate? It's one of those things. There's like a temporary reality, and then there's an eternal reality. And I think Bhakti has sort of a healthy balance of both, but ultimately we throw up our hands and say, thy will be done. Whatever you want. Maybe I'm not supposed to be with the person right now. And truthfully, I think you can find, I've found in my life, on my spiritual path, that when I say, my Lord, I am all yours, I find I get whatever I want anyway. It works out. When I concentrate, I got to find the right this or the right that never shows up. What do you think? What do you guys think? Live? You're just like looking around, drinking coffee. Yeah, and you know what? And the idea of soulmate also is, it's I think different in like the Vedic teachings is that we come together with people. We understand we can't possess these people. We can't own these people. Sometimes we do find someone we really jive with and they die. That happens all the time. Happened to my parents, So you find someone you connect with and then you lose that person. So we say, everybody we come in contact, we love. Everybody we connected with, we love. And then time takes us apart. It's like, what is real romance? We all die together. We take birth again together. We die. We get sick together. It's like when someone comes in our life, we love them. We give them all the love we can. But we understand they're not my God. Don't make a person your God. But we also believe that sometimes people who are very connected, they can follow each other for many lifetimes as well. You could stay connected with your children sometimes, and they take birth again, maybe as a parent or as a sibling or as a son or a daughter. Like the mystic in Haridwar told me my son Rocco was my father.
Previous life.
Serious, man. He is my father. If you know my son, he's just like my father.
And he said, does that mean that I was married to grandma?
Yeah, that's what his response was. Does that mean I was married to Grandma Terry?
But regarding the money mantras,
Yes.
and other rituals for gaining wealth, the one way to look at it is, you see, bhakti is all about purifying our love for God. And that means I need to purify it from the level of I'm approaching you for money, right? Just like a parent may have several different children, and some children come to that parent. Say some child just more or less ignores the parent. Parent still feels love for that child, but they only show up when they need some money, right?
Yeah.
Where there's another child that's always connected and serving the parent and with love connected with that parent. We want to be that child with God, not the one that's like, I need some money right now, and I'm ignoring you otherwise. So bhakti means free of the desire for anything material, whether it be wealth or any other thing. Bhakti means free from even the desire to be freed of the sufferings of this world. It's free from desire for karma or moksha. Pure bhakti means I approach God purely out of love. And that's called uttama bhakti or pure bhakti. And that's the purpose to practicing bhakti. And it's the very purpose of life, to restore that pure love. So money mantras may or may not work, right?
I'm doing a special money mantra episode on Patreon.
The money mantras may or may not work, but the bhakti
abundance mantras.
But the bhakti yogis aren't interested in that.
I'm a little bit interested.
No, you got to let go, Raghu. Let go.
Go on. And I've got some food mantras I also chant when I'm hungry.
Yeah,
mantras.
We want pure bhakti, and pure bhakti is free from any of those other desires.
I'll use it in God's service, I swear.
No, you won't. You'll get lost in it, Raghu. Just let it go. Let it go.
Hey, thanks everybody joining our podcast. The music's on. It's time. I want to thank Carla, the corrector, for showing up late and banging on the window. I want to thank our executive producers. Hey, if you're around this weekend in New York City at the Bhakti Center, I'm giving a class on the 6 pillars of Bhakti. I might even have a slumber party at Kaustubha's house. That'd be fun.
Let's do it.
Let's do pillow fights, popcorn, the whole thing.
Popcorn. We can do that.
Kaustubha's like, what?
We can make that happen.
Invite himself over again. And I'm bringing 3 kids with me. Anyway, thanks for everybody. And what else? What other important news? Anyway, Patreon, check out our Patreon platform, community platform. That's patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. And that's it, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. This is how we do this. We hang. And thank you and welcome to Question Day. Have a great day today. It's a great day for a great day. Come on, live. I want to thank everybody who joined us late on Zoom. Thanks. Keep the clapping going. I'm just going to scroll through the faces. Thanks for everybody who's like just waking up, bringing their dog, bringing their kids. Julia, who's giving us like a sort of like what do they call those? A reality show. Julia's walking around, making coffee, making lunch, spreading butter on toast. We love it. It's okay. It's great. Vegan trucker taking us for a drive. I love like going on trips with you guys during Bhagavad-gita class. Take us around. Mohan's going out to somewhere in Finland. Some people are clapping while they're driving. We love that too.
All the beautiful kids are coming out, ladies.
All the children are coming out, bringing your spouses.
Boy.
Somebody had a horse on the other day on the Bhagavad-gita, riding a horse, listening to the Bhagavad-gita. Okay.